I'm back with more super interesting research on epigenetics that I wish everybody knew about. Today, I'll be talking about how childhood trauma is changing the way that your body ages. We've known for some time that the number of adverse childhood experiences someone encounters has a direct correlation with biological markers of aging, things like telomere erosion. Telomeres are the little caps on the ends of your DNA that keep it from unraveling. You can think of it like the tip of a shoelace. And so as the length of the telomere shortens, the likelihood that the DNA is going to unravel becomes more probable, and when the DNA unravels, the cell will die. We also see the same association with DNA methylation, another biomarker of your body's age. Even the age at which you start puberty is associated with the prevalence of adversity in your early life. Why would experiencing childhood trauma speed up the aging process? Remember, changes that happen in the body in response to stress are adaptive in nature, meaning the body doesn't just self-destruct when we experience stress. It is trying to adapt. So from an evolutionary perspective, what this is suggesting is that reproductive fitness may be prioritized over other long-term processes. Interestingly, there's also evidence to suggest that not just the quantity, but also the type of adversity we are encountering is having an influence on this process. The dimensional model of adversity suggests that we can measure adversity based on one of two traits: deprivation and threat. Threat represents the presence of things in the environment that shouldn't be there, things like physical and sexual abuse, whereas deprivation is represented in forms of neglect, things that should be in the environment that are not present. Physical and emotional neglect, poverty are examples of this. Researchers who have parsed apart the different types of adversity, either deprivation or threat, have found some differential outcomes. For example, for individuals who have experienced childhood abuse, we see a correlation with cellular aging. However, for those who experience neglect, we do not see that association. And we actually see opposite effects when it comes to the onset of puberty. Those who have experienced abuse show correlations with earlier onset of puberty, and those who have experienced neglect, a later onset of puberty. The argument here essentially is that when an individual is experiencing a harsh environment in the form of abuse, the body is interpreting that as a direct threat to the lifespan. So better to speed up the reproductive process so that you can pass along your genes as soon as possible. Whereas when somebody is experiencing deprivation, whether it's in the form of parental absence or food scarcity, it would actually serve us reproductively to try to slow things down. Essentially, this is interpreted by the body as being less immediately life-threatening and instead an opportunity to potentially delay the onset of reproductive fitness in order to reaccumulate those missing resources. There's so much research to be done in this area, but I think it's fascinating to understand how incredibly intelligent our bodies are in trying to maintain our survival and to keep our genetic lineage in play in the species.